Hi, I'm Pauline.
Hi, I'm Priscilla.
I'm Pal.
And I'm Tamiron.
And this is the P3T podcast.
Okay, we need to be silent like this.
Imagine I like
Yeah.
Wait,
It was funny enough, like
Okay. Today, first of all, thank you for tuning in again to this episode. Today, we are going to be talking about money. The root of all evil.
It's the root.
Oh, it's our root.
It's not the love of money.
the love of money is a root of all evil.
That whole saying rubs me the wrong way, but it's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there in the discussion. The first thing I want us to tackle is, do you feel like you have balance in your spending? Like, are you able to spend on yourself, spend on other people, spend on your basics? Because my assumption is, when you are younger and like you'd be going out with friends, your parents or your guardians would give you money for that outing, But then now, and like if you're going to school and you need like money for lunch, they'd give you money for lunch. Like it would only be enough for lunch. But then now, like I'm assuming we are given money on like more of a long-term basis. So like some people even earn their own money, but then some people who still like depend on their parents, you're given maybe money for the semester. And then you're told, Jibambe, or the month.
Yeah.
Mine is given on a weekly basis.
Yeah, or even the week. Like it's still significantly more. And like it's for the week. Okay, let me just ask. It's for the week, but is it for the week? Like ukikaa chini ucalculate, itaisha hiyo wiki. Ama like you're able to like spend on other things.
Able to spend on other things. If you balance out, if you take like the month cumulative, you can like save some and do something here and there.
Okay.
Buy a friend a gift
For their birthday.
So it's not like for the week. It's given on a weekly basis. It's like a weekly salary, basically.
Yeah. A wage.
Yeah, so now in that spending, do you feel like you have balance? So when I talk about balance, I mean you're able to spend on basics. That means like lunch for those of you who go to school. All of us go to school. Or maybe Priscilla who goes to online doesn't spend money on lunch. But like for those of us who go to physical school, so like you spend money on lunch because utakanja.
And transport.
Yeah, transport. And then also like could you spoil kidogo, kujipeleka out some few days, kujinunulia a nice top. And then also like you have friends who have birthdays, and you don't want to be that one person that expects gifts but never gives out gifts. So do you guys feel like you have balance of spending in terms of that?
Yeah, I feel like I have balance. Okay, so how my money is calculated is like it was a rough guesstimation of what we would need, yeah. And then now over time we were like, okay, so maybe like we can have like a 50 bob increase because of the and this money increase because of the but now like mine is almost on the nose, it's like a rough almost on the nose, but like I can get rides from my parents because we use like the same route. I can get rides from my parents coming back from school, and that money won't be taken away. So that's the deal that we have. So any money that I manage to save with rides, with food, with whatever, anything, that money is not taken away. I still get the same amount of money, and it comes towards now my buying people birthday gifts, spoiling myself, all of that, saving. Now that counts. That's how that works in my family. Yeah, so I feel like I need to give a bit of a backstory, but I don't take too long. When we finished high school, immediately finished high school, that break between high school and uni, I was terrible with my money. But my sister has always been like, she's, what is it called? A miser. What's up? She's like, so I was a spendthrift and she was a miser. So we had to do a lot of things together during that period of time. So like going to driving school, going for like rehearsals in church together, things like that. Going to see people. We did it together because we had the same life until now recently. So she would, like me, we've come from driving school, I want to buy some food. She's like, no, there's food at home, let's go home. So because she would have the bag that has money, I had to follow her, tunaweka matatu, tunapanda, tunakulia wapi? Nyumbani. So that attitude, even though like at that point in time aki nilimchukia, gosh nakupenda sahi lakini at that point
Ni tu sasa uko na pesa.
at that point I was like, why does she have to like limit our money, all of that. But I saw the benefits of it. Now I've seen the benefits of it now, because now those habits have been inculcated into me in uni. So I'm so meticulous about spending my money. If like I have like a system, if I save 20 bob on fare, I can use that 20 bob to do something else. Everything is like my plus and minus everywhere. I'm like a balance sheet in my mind. So so I've become, because of her, I've become really good at like budgeting my money, saving my money, spending my money. Yeah, I think I'm in a good place at most times financially. To the point where like I don't have to ask my parents for money when the week starts. I can just be like, at the end of the week I can be like, oh, I spent this. So refund me. Yeah.
And you are welcome.
Priscilla?
I think for me, since I do online classes, I save a lot of money per se,
Must be nice.
because I don't have fare. I don't need to budget for fare, nor do I need to budget for food. But like when I'm having like meetup sessions, when I'm having meetup sessions, okay,
Meetups?
you just crushed. when I'm having meetups with my friends, or I guess that's when I decide to like, okay, what am I budgeting on? How much will the fare be? How much will food be? And then nowadays I'm so conscious of like how much I'm spending, because I think, as Pal said, how her sister is a miser. I think I have that trait too, because I don't like overspending like a lot of money. Sometimes when I go to a restaurant and I'm the one paying for myself, let me just take a glass of water or something that's cheap, the cheapest thing on the menu.
Watu wende na wazazi.
Different story.
You don't even look at the price. You just look at what looks nice.
Exactly. So I think since we're now growing up, or we are now grown, and now we need to be accountable with money, for me it's become me spending is like an issue. Until like I can say I have a stable source of income, I don't think I'll reach a point where I can say, let me spoil myself. I'll spoil myself with my mother's money. I'm so sorry. But that's my take.
But even all this, like even the one we are spoiling ourselves with, is still our parents' money.
For me, honestly, it's sometimes hard to have a balance, because I'm depending on someone, and with this inflation going on, 1 week is good, especially if your parent is in business. 1 week is good, another one is not particularly the best. So sometimes your pocket money might not exactly be consistent.
True.
So when I started uni, I remember it was particularly consistent. I even had like this amount I'm going to save, like the constant amounts that I was saving, or I was eating with, or I was using to spoil myself. But then now it's a bit different, because I'm not really able to get the same amount every week. So I've always been a miser, to be honest. Like even my classmates, just
They're aware.
They're aware. I tend to go for the cheapest option for everything.
Same.
But now because of like I have no choice but to go for the cheapest option. That's what I end up doing, and I'm not able to save as much as I'd wish to, or as I was able to. I'm not able to, I don't know. With every week comes its ups and downs. So
Sometimes you
Because-
can, sometimes you can't.
yeah, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. And because I'm depending on my parents, you just have to be accepting of the situation and pray that you get a job soon. But
I think-
yeah,
Sorry, are you done?
I'm done.
I think it's worth noting, at least all of us in this room right now are heavily dependent on our parents when it comes to financially speaking. So, like, we can't sit here and say, oh yeah, as we spend, we travel, we do what, we do this,
Tomorrow,
we do this.
yeah.
Like next week, Zanzibar. That's not the reality for us because our money depends on our parents. And my parents are not going to give me money to go out with friends. If the money they give me, I'm able to save it to the point where I can go out with friends. Hey, God bless you. They won't keep me in the house. But they're not, like, when they're giving me pocket money, that's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about Pauline needs to go to school and Pauline needs to eat. And then maybe plus like 100 because Pauline has friends and she would like to meet with them every once in a while. So I feel like it's an important thing to acknowledge, which actually leads me on to my next point. There's a lot of people our age, some even younger than us, who, like, especially people who do like maybe forex trading or like people, or like crypto, or people who are like into investment, or people who even have jobs. Like for them, like they're able to create this life where, you know, they're traveling, they're able to buy vehicles. 20 akona gari ni yake. Like sio ati dia mtu mwingine ni yake. So like do you guys ever feel like there's some sort of pressure created in terms of how you spend your finances? Like, do you feel the need to overspend? Or, well, not really overspend, because you can't overspend what you don't have. But, like, do you ever feel like bad for not being able to spend as much as other people with streams of income are spending that are in our age group?
No, I don't feel bad. I don't know.
I could
you
be.
know, for me, I used to laugh at this girl in our high school who used to always say that her dream job is to be an investor. So I used to be so tickled. I was like, how can your dream job be an investor? Like, I don't know. But I realized that it's such a smart thing to say, because being an investor is a good thing. And how do you be an investor when you have money? So right now we're not working and we're getting this money from our parents. We can, hiyo 20 bob una save 20 bob kila siku tano, hiyo ni so, save 100 bob each week. Every week you save 100 bob. By the end of the year you have a kakidogo amount of money that then you can put into some scheme in a company or a bank that can earn interest. And as young, imagine umeanza at 20 or at 19, you've started that, and then now you go till 40 years old, you keep the same, not a lot, you're 100 bob too, nendelea hivyo.
I'm not even, you know, as you grow,
as
then
you grow,
get an income, you can even add.
So you could do a percentage based off of now when you're starting at 100 bob, you could build the money depending on the percentage that you set, By the time now we're in our 40s or our 50s, we've secured our retirement. So buying a car now, me, I've bought my Mercedes and I'm rolling in it, cool, that's fine. Like for me, people who have money, or even you don't have to have a job, maybe your parents are just well off, and you get a lot of money and you have this Mercedes or all these things that you're spending extravagantly on. I think, like it's cool to have those things, but for me, I know what position myself and my family are in financially, and I thank God for where I am, because I could be a lot worse. You know, I've been to a good school, I have food every day, I have clothes, I have a house to go to, you know. So I'm grateful for everything that I have, and I try not to be envious, because the smallest amount of money you can create into an opportunity for yourself, which is now what I'm trying to grow to do for myself. So at the end of the day, even me, I'm riding that Mercedes.
Amen.
Truthfully speaking, sometimes with peer pressure, you do feel like, okay, I should be doing more per se with like my finances. For instance, like, okay, since okay, for like me personally, I can say right now, thanks to COVID and also to the inflation right now, my family is a little bit struggling, and so we are trying to like cut back on how much we spend on stuff, and also that will affect even the kind of money, the amount of money I'll be given as pocket money, like if I'm to interact or meet up with my friends and all. So there's this sense of like, okay, peer pressure, like, okay, what can I do with this little money I have? Because now everyone is into crypto, everyone is into
NFTs.
S&P 500 investments, all these things. And it's a little bit like, okay, now what can I do? And with this little money, what can I invest in? And the fact that sometimes maybe like for me, the source of income that we have is not like a regular source of income, like every month you're guaranteed that you're going to have money. It's like you can go for a month without getting money, you can go for 2 months without getting money. So what can we do with these little resources that we have? So sometimes I do feel bad, but I learn to be appreciative of like the little that I have, because I know there are people who have it worse, you know. So yeah, that's what I can say.
I think mine's a mix of Priscilla and Pearl. What? I was about to call you Karen.
It's okay.
Like, yes, I'm accepting of the situation that I'm in. And honestly, you can't do anything about it. Okay, so now you want to live their life, and then like
Yeah.
the reality of
It won't happen.
Yeah, the reality of life is you live your own life. You make do with what you have. Like both of you have said, or both Priscilla and Karen have said.
Pearl.
Paul,
It's okay.
I know you're thinking
Cancel.
being appreciative of where you are, because there are people who have it worse.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like, okay, what can I do for myself to like make that extra cash or make that extra coin? So that, at the moment I don't have a choice but to depend on my parents. But it would be nice if I'd have that extra inflow of cash. So I get the pressure of wanting to do something to get money, but I don't really get the pressure of wanting to live as extravagant as maybe the people around me.
Can I add? I realize also, okay, you'll see me driving my parents' car, and then I'll say I like a simple life, but I like living a simple life, and let me tell you why. Like when I go to see my friends, the best form of seeing people is going to somebody's house, and and then everybody just sits in the sitting room and you're just talking. Like that's it. You talk, you eat, we leave late, we go home, we tell our parents, oh, sorry for coming late, So for me, that's the best form of like hanging out with people or meeting up with people. With some of my friends, we've tried our hardest. We've tried to go out and like to these fancy places, like which sell like it's very aesthetic, and the food is like okay, but still
You're paying for the aesthetic.
You're paying for the aesthetic, and it's expensive and whatever. Like we've tried. Trust me, we've tried. But at the end of the day, like recently, we went to eat ice cream at this aesthetic place, only for us to go back to one of our friends' houses to eat spaghetti na nyanya. For real. And the best part of the day was not going out to eat ice cream, it was going to eat spaghetti and nyanya. So I think I also like living a simple life, even though it looks great on Instagram. It looks wow, fantastic. But I know it's just not for me. I have my most fun in simplicity. Yeah.
Interesting. So another thing that I wanted us to talk about is, oh wait, for me, I was going to say, what was I going to say? I was going to say that like most of you, or like all of you have said, there's that pressure. You don't feel the pressure to emulate their life, but you feel the pressure to make the money because there's that whole, I'm not doing as much as I should be doing at my age. And I think it's because of the whole like hustle culture. You know, like people, if I had a penny, if I had a shilling for every time somebody told me, your degree wouldn't even get you anywhere in this life, I would be a billionaire, And it's not even, the worst part is it's not even people in the job market. Like it's people my age who have jobs. And I feel like for them, it's a security. But I know myself, and I know I could never put in as much effort into my education as I can right now if I had a job. Like it would swallow everything because having your own stream of income, it makes you think that that's the end of life. Like it makes you think like there's nothing else to strive for. So your education ceases to be important.
Exactly.
And like for me, my education is quite important. Like I'm not just going to school. Yes, I'm going to school to get a job. Don't get me wrong. If there's somebody listening who wants to hire me, I want a job. But like I'm also going to school because I see value in education. I value education personally, which might not be the case for everyone, and that's okay. So like the hustle culture for me doesn't make sense because I would never be able to put as much effort into my education as I am doing right now if I had a job. And then there's also that verse, Ecclesiastes 3:1. There's a time for everything. Like right now, as much as I want money, don't get me wrong, I want. But then, like, let me work on my education right now. Let me put 1,000% effort in my education right now. And I don't mean like doing my assignments and like going to classes. I mean like forming connections and learning like about the job market from my lecturers. Because ultimately I want to use my degree. Like I'm not just doing this thing.
No, continue.
No, I'm not just doing this thing for this fun of it. Like I want to use my degree. And like if I spend more time hustling, I won't learn how to use my degree. So for me, that's kind of where it comes from. Yes, Priscilla.
Also, to add on to this thing about the hustle culture and having that pressure to make money at our age, I feel like, okay, with comparison to like the Western culture, I feel like where they've gone right or they've done something right is by encouraging teenagers to work early.
Get jobs.
Yeah, get jobs. Like as you'll find a 16-year-old working at McDonald's or working at whatever
Starbucks.
whatever store to earn their own pocket money. And I feel like if you were to integrate such a culture in Kenya, I think it would help us in a lot of ways because number one, we're getting into the ground, like onto the ground or into the ground. Okay, we're getting on the ground. Yes, we're getting on the ground of like the job market, how it is actually working. You're getting the experience, and at the same time, you're earning money and removing that, okay, not per se burden, but like the burden you're somewhat inflicting on your parents because you can provide certain things for yourself, like most of the times, like for those who have enough money to pay for Spotify or Apple Music, you're not going to be paying Apple Music with your parents' card. You'll be paying Apple Music from your card because you're earning money from the little job that you're doing. So I feel like if you were to integrate such a culture, it would go a long way. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted us to talk about is, well, it's not a specific thing, but I feel like there are many quotes that surround money. And my two least favorite, maybe this speaks of me as a person, but my two least favorite are A, money doesn't buy happiness, and B, the love of money is the root of all evil. So yeah, you guys give your opinions on that, and then I'll tell you what I think.
The love of money is the root of
All evil.
what was the quote again?
The love of money is the root of all evil.
The love. It's a Bible verse. Number one,
Yeah.
it's a Bible verse, and it's the love of money is a root of evil. I don't think it says
It's
all.
all.
It's a root of evil. That is the whatever. So it doesn't. So like I think I agree, because if you're greedy for money, then you're willing to jump hoops to be corrupt, to do everything you can just to get it, and you've not maybe you've you want somebody's plot of land, so you grab it from them.
Yeah.
You want I won't say this, that's political. So so it's a lot of, so that if you love money to the point where you become full of greed, yes, that is evil, because it leads to evil acts like corruption. So I agree with that. What is the first one?
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Money buys security.
Yeah.
So you could have money and you're sick, but at least you can go to hospital. Yeah, the person doesn't have money and they're sick, they can't go to hospital, they can easily die. So I agree that happiness doesn't come from materialism, but money helps people's lives to be comfortable. So don't seek for happiness in money, but don't condemn money like it's worthless. It's not worthless. There's a reason why it's money. It has worth.
Exactly. Also, I actually wanted to say what Pearl has said. I feel like money buys comfortability. In that, if you have for instance, if you have a nice house, obviously it's not leaking all the time. If you have the same example that you used, if you have an insurance, you have money to pay for insurance, you have a health cover. When you get sick, you can easily go to hospital.
Yeah.
With a car, you can go wherever you want at any time with your convenience, So I feel like money, yes, does get you comfortability, but one thing life has taught me is that it's better to have the peace of mind, having peace of mind, and being happy with the people that surround you, and the rest can sort itself out. Because one thing you can't buy is peace, happiness, and love. If you don't have those three things, I feel like your life is a little bit messed up. But either way, I feel like money doesn't buy happiness. But if you're a materialistic person, don't get me wrong, do you? Also with money being the root, money being
It's actually
Let me read the verse.
all evil.
It's 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. And then it continues.
So it's all.
all evil.
Kinds of evil.
Put a star on what I said.
But okay, I agree with also what Pearl said about money. If you are greedy, then obviously it's going to lead to an occurrence of certain events where you'll do anything and everything for money, even bad things for money. So yeah, I do agree with Pearl.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about the quote on money being the root of all evil. A root
I'm so sorry.
a root of all kinds of evil. I think you guys have expressed it well. But I do have something to say on money being
Buying happiness.
buying happiness. Money buys experiences that lead to happiness.
Nicely said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that's a very misplaced quote. I think money, I'm assuming the person who made the quote in the first place used money to mean materialism. It doesn't hold anymore. The quote doesn't hold anymore.
Especially in a world, I feel like with regard to this money buying happiness, in a world where a lot of people are battling mental health. Like then it wasn't like, I think this quote came from like Tene, like a long time ago. And then I don't think mental health was such a regarded aspect of society as it is today. And that's why materialism, yes, it's there, but we are, even though money is now a big part of society, we are able to regard other things like mental health as weighing more than money itself or materialistic things. So I feel like I do agree that money can buy can not buy, but can get you to experience happiness, in that it advances it creates that lifestyle of comfortability, but it doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah. Well, you can buy the experiences. You can buy a trip to Malindi, but then you don't have anyone to go with.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
No, if you have money, you have someone to go with.
That could be fake.
Yeah.
You get.
Yeah.
So,
No, but you can go bungee jumping, then be happy of with that experience.
but it could be a
You go to
lonely
Malindi.
experience. You get.
But you had fun and you were happy
You
in
did.
that moment.
I think
But
it depends
remember
on
we
the
were talking about
person.
social anxiety, and we are talking about the way sometimes being alone can lead to loneliness. What if you're trying to fill this void of loneliness with all these materialistic things? You know, you're not happy, but you have money, but you're not happy. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
So for me, well, I think I started the statement wrong because I started by saying I hate those quotes, and then I was educated and I was told that one of those quotes is a Bible verse. So Father, forgive me. I don't hate your word. I think the reason I don't like these quotes is because oftentimes they are used to make people comfortable in their lack. You know? Like you'll find the person saying money doesn't buy happiness is telling that or is giving that advice to someone who hasn't been able to afford breakfast or lunch. Like you wouldn't go tell a billionaire money doesn't buy happiness. They could care less.
Yeah.
They couldn't care less. Sorry. But you know, like it's used to some extent, it feels like a tool to make sure people aren't able to like become wealthier or to not become wealthier per se, but it makes people be comfortable in their lack.
Yeah.
And that's not, first of all, I feel like that's evil.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're telling people that, I feel like it's very evil. But yes, obviously, money, like all of you guys have talked about how when you love money too much and it leads to greed and you're forced to do or you're pushed to do like evil things, then yeah, it becomes like the root kind of the evil things. So I wanted to tie this to something I had someone say once. In all things that you do, make sure that your money works for you and not vice versa.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you're reaching this point where you're actively going out of your way to hurt other people for the sole purpose of making money, then at that point, like it's no longer, like money has basically become your controller. Like you're no longer working to get money, you're more
the money's not working for you.
yeah, you're working for the money. Like money is not working for you. And I feel like that's a very dangerous point to reach in life. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I concur.
Short and precise to the point. Concise.
Yeah, I actually do concur with that whole perspective. Yeah. It was, I actually I didn't even think about the whole thing where Pauline talked about the root. I mean, money can buy happiness. I feel like it's used more of like a mockery. It mocks those who
Have money.
who don't have money.
Yeah.
So I
And I think that's what makes me hate this thing so much.
Yeah.
Because as someone who has, how can you treat someone who doesn't have with such malicious intent?
Yeah.
Like what? I'm not going to continue. I was like about to say very nice things.
I agree. I don't have much to say. I just agree.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, concur.
Okay. So if we're all in agreement, then I think the next thing we can talk about is do you ever feel like there are moments where like you feel like because you don't have a certain amount of money, like your life is like, do you ever feel like there are things you really, really want or you really, really need, but like the money just isn't there? And what do you do in such situations?
If there's something I really, really want and I don't have the money for it, okay, sometimes I may want something, but God doesn't want it for me in my life. Yeah. So if I want something, okay, I'm not saying like I want food and I don't have it. I'm saying like, like two other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes God has a plan different from what I want. So, like for example, if I want to go to school A and my parents don't have enough money to take me to school A, I have to go to school B because it pays less money. So I don't know. So I would have to just go with school B because that is God's plan for me. Perhaps in the way of being in school B, now the money comes up and then I go to school A. So when I don't have enough money for something, I don't know. Sometimes I just get upset at God and then I pray. So first I get upset. You know the stages of grief.
Yeah.
So first I get upset. Then I'm like, okay, no, let's pray about it. Let's see. And then also sometimes I could try and find alternatives to what I want. So if this is not working out, what's something else that fits within my financial range that I can get to complete the same task? Yeah.
So, with that question, it brings me to a situation that I think will stay with me till Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
A lot of my close friends know this, but like when I was in high school, I really wanted to go to a certain school. In Form 1, I was in a different school in Form 1 first, and then I transferred to the school where I graduated from. And transferring period was like a difficult time because I really wanted to go to this school that I graduated from, but there was no money for me to go there. So I feel like certain situations like this where like you want something but then there's no money for it could be used as a testimony point. So like when you pray, like that point where Paul said you could get mad at God and then pray about it. I feel like for me, I pray about it first and see if God can provide, because I see God as my heavenly Father above all. So he's the one who's going to make it happen. And one thing my mom always uses as a point of like, Zoe, if God could do this for you, Priscilla, if God could do this for you, I believe he can do anything. So she always reminds me of one prayer I used to say during that period. And I not prayer, but yeah, it was like a prayer. I used to say, God is my how, my when, and my where. And he's the one who's going to provide for everything I need. And I think that prayer point has helped me in certain areas of my life, in that if there's something that I don't have and I don't have the resources to get it, I'll say, hey God, please, I really need this to work out. And now the point of getting mad at God is now the latter point, where when there's a cano of this thing coming through for me, now that's when I get angry, because I'm like, now God has failed me. Why isn't he listening to me? Eventually, I get to that analogy. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. Yeah.
But it takes a while.
Yeah. So like mine is a reverse of Pearl. Yeah.
For me, I'm quick to accept my situation.
Nice.
So when something is going on and probably there are no finances to pursue that thing, I'm very quick to be like, oh, okay,
We move.
no, I think I was very young when I accepted the fact that you can't get what you want. You can't always get what you want. So yeah, a lot of times I'm very quick to be accepting of the situation and just move on. Or if it's a question of time, I tend to be patient. It will come through when it comes through. And I feel like that's not necessarily the best thing because it makes me reluctant to pray about it. Like instead of taking the situation to God and being like, okay, God, I really wanted this, please make a way, I accept too quickly and I just move on with life and forget it was something I wanted to happen for me.
Yeah.
So I think on my part, I need to be willing to allow God to make things happen instead of being too quick to accept the situation. Yeah.
Okay. I think much like everybody has said, obviously there's these things you want and like you really want them, but then wanting is free. So like at the end of the day, if there's no finances and it requires finances, you won't be able to like do what you really, really want. But something that usually gives me hope is Matthew 6. It's a pretty long verse, so I'm just going to summarize from like verse 25. The whole, do not worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will worry about itself. Like, look at the flowers in the field. Like, they don't work, but even in their splendor, but even in his splendor, not Solomon was dressed as beautifully as them. And then the birds of the sky, they don't work, but still God provides. Because is the body not more than clothing and not more than food? So, like in all these things, yes, I really want them. Yes, God knows I want them because your Father knows you want these things. But my life is so much more. Like Paul gave the example of really wanting to go to school A. Yes, I really want to go to school A. But if I'm not able to go to school A at all, my life does not lose meaning. It does not cease to be important because I lacked this or wasn't able to do these things. Because these things, they are only important because like society tells you won't be able to survive anyway without them. Like people will say, this school is good. This school is really good because you are assured a job after this school. But like, there's people who've not gone to that school and gotten jobs. Like there's people
who've gone to that school and not gotten jobs.
So like in this life, I don't think there's a one straight route towards success. And like there's if you do this and if you do that and if you do this, then success is yours. So like you kind of, much like Tamiron, I think I'm also learning to just accept because yes, there's also obviously going to be that period of anger towards God and be like, but you said in your word, you start quoting verses all left, right, and center without any direction. And like it makes you angry, but then also learning that it's not the end of the world. I don't need this to be happy. I don't need this to be successful. So finally, in conclusion, I wanted us to talk about the concept of tithing. So for those of you who don't know what tithing is, and a church. I'm kidding. So tithing, basically the basis of tithing lies in I think it's the book of Leviticus or Numbers. One of those books in Genesis with all the rules.
Is it Malachi? Malachi is Malachi 3:10.
Like yes, it's talked about like multiple times in the Bible, but like the basis of tithing, comes from when Leviticus. Somewhere in Leviticus, I think, the Israelites were told to give 10% to facilitate like the worship of God. So to like I don't know, like make sure the priests have clothing and to like make sure the sacrifice is being bought and yada yada yada. So that's where the concept of tithing comes. That's why you hear tithe 10% and unaambiwanga hiyo ndi minimum. So maximum hiyo ndi minimum. So what do you guys think of the concept of tithing?
I think tithe is a way to serve God. So like in my church, I'll witness my I don't know. I don't think, first of all, right now in my life, I'm like in a limbo of does tithe apply to me or not, because I don't really earn a salary. So I'm more consistent with the idea of offering than tithe for me as well. However, just the concept of giving and tithing, I feel like for me in my church, I can see it being used. Like if there's an event and people need snacks, like you see when I was talking about like some program that helps for teenagers, we needed snacks. Hiyo pesa ilitoka wapi? Si ni pesa ya shirika. And I'm eternally grateful for the good giving that people do in our church, so that we could facilitate that session, not having to worry about money. So if you can see your money being put to good use within your tithe, I feel like that's an act of service in itself, because you're helping God's people further God's kingdom. So yeah, for me, I feel like tithe is a good concept. It's good. I think it was a good standard for especially the Israelites during that time, the early times, just to set a precedent to say, okay, 10%, this is what we are giving, just that everyone is on the same page and that it's fair for everyone, because you take it up to thou moja, si kinatoka na thou moja. But if everybody atoe 10%, watu wako na 10%. So I feel like it's a good precedent to set, it's a good practice to have, because it helps to serve people. And I don't know, for me when I serve, I feel good, I feel like hata kama nilipeana 50 bob, hiyo 50 bob imeenda mahali, nimefanyia mtu kitu, and I have seen it being used in my church's finances.
I feel like tithing is also a good concept, with how Pal has explained it in terms of it being used as a service to God. However, with my experience, with a couple of
Other churches,
not all churches, other churches, they have, I feel like there's a toxic side of this tithing topic, or this whole concept of tithing, because there was once I heard of a pastor talking about, you need to tithe because it's like a thing, it's like a give and receive kind of thing. For God to bless you, you have to give. Yeah, you have to tithe. It's like a yes, it's a transactional kind of concept, which I do not agree with. And in addition with that, one thing that just irked me about that minister was that he ended up even talking about, you can even go and kopa, enda uchukue deni, then utoe dhabihu. And I was like, question mark. Because I don't believe that you're taking 10% from borrowed money will help in that manner.
I don't think it's also good for a minister to want their washirika to be worse off when they left you.
Exactly. I don't think that's the whole concept of growing God's church or kingdom, and it's very twisted and sick, because a couple of ministers have taken it to be a business rather than a work of God or a service to God, which I do not agree. And if you're in a certain position where you probably feel like tithing is important to you, however you don't have that money, you can give in other means, like
your time.
Yeah, your time. If you have like spare clothes that you don't have, you could give it to children's homes. Other than the church, there are other things you can do other than, okay, yes, you're giving to God, but at the same time, you can give to God through other works. Like, I'm giving to this children's home, I am giving to this rehabilitation center. It all works with how you are at that time and what you feel led to do. So that's my thought on tithing.
It's like, before you go, Tamiron, it's like the verse somewhere in Matthew, when Jesus is talking about how, like, there'll be a time when he's in heaven, or rather when we've gone to heaven, and he will ask you, I was hungry and you did not feed me. I was naked and you did not clothe me. So like you can have, like, people have made tithe be like giving in church only, but like you also need to remember, like there's so much emphasis in the Bible in taking care of orphans, taking care of the needy, like the ones who don't have at all. Like you're encouraged so much to take care of them. Yeah. So I just felt like when you talked about giving in terms of taking clothes to the children's home, it reminded me of that verse.
Yeah.
So I personally do give tithe. I think I put more emphasis on tithe as compared to offering. Mostly because, why do I do it? How I've been taught to view tithe is, it's an essential Christian principle, number one. Number two, I remember being told by my mother that it's, gosh, why is my thought taking so long to land? Sit up.
We're all lying down, baby.
I remember her telling me that it's like a way of keeping your finances intact. Obviously, it's not one of the main reasons, but it's not like the only reason, but it's among the reasons. In the sense that, you know how you say, or you've had people saying ati nika mifuko zangu ziko na shimo, yani my pockets have holes. I was actually being told that it's not normal. Money should not just be entering and like disappearing like that. It's actually spiritual. So to keep it safe, intact, that's what tithe does. But it's not the only thing. Tithe also furthers the work of the Lord. Tithe, there was something Pauline said.
Did I?
Yeah, before we started recording. Something your mom told you as well.
My mom tells me many things.
It's the spiritual.
Oh yes, but it's in conjunction to what Tamiron is saying about like just securing your money. That it's like when you do that, it's not like you secure your money, because I know where you are. You're asking yourself, so now if I pay tithe, I'll never have problems. I know you are asking yourself, but like it's less of a practical thing, like insurance. Like it's not like insurance the way when you've been paying premiums, and then when you get into an accident, you get money or you're compensated. That's not really how it works. It's more of a spiritual thing where it's not really like God blesses you because of the tithe, but he remembers that you give to the furthering of his kingdom.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not like now if you don't pay tithe, he won't bless you. That's not what it is. It's more of because of how much you have given for his kingdom, he won't forget.
And he'll okay. Now if I say he'll reward you, it makes it seem transactional. But he'll reward you.
God wants the best
for his
people.
children.
And God rewards his children. So he will reward you.
Yeah.
And there's also something Pauline talked about before we started recording, joyous giving.
Joy, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, where you give with a joyous heart. It's not umefosiwa kutoa. Like when you give with an open heart, I think I think that was it's a characteristic of tithing, because if you don't give with a joyous heart or with an open heart of like, okay, I'm doing this for God, not for people to see how much I'm giving, or for people or whatever reason you might have
to get blessed.
To get blessed.
A job.
Exactly. If you're giving with that kind of mentality, that open, joyous mentality, then I think that is true tithing. The rest is fake.
No, I don't know about fake. But that's why I feel like tithing is such a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you've not been moved to tithe, I don't think you should tithe.
Yeah.
Because if you've not been moved to tithe, then you're not tithing for
For
the
the
right
right
reason.
reason.
Exactly.
You're
From a
tithing.
joyful place.
Yeah, you're not tithing with joy. You're tithing because honor 10% of my salary has to go. Or
I remember my mom told me the moment you feel that feeling of now look, my 10% is going.
don't even
Don't
give that
even
money
give.
because
Don't
you're not giving with a joyous heart.
Yeah.
I think you should work on your heart posture to move towards
Yeah.
joyous giving. So
yeah.
maybe if you're not comfortable with 10%, if you're okay, hata kani 20 bob, kama sana kupatia 20 bob, you work, you just build it up slowly. But with
Yeah.
a good heart.
Heart.
Yeah.
So
Lakini msipane 20 bob uweka mko na pesa. Mimi tunataka chakula ya teens work.
And then also it's I remember why my mom insisted that I should start tithing from a young age is so that when I'm older and I'm definitely tithing more, I'm earning more, it's not a challenge to tithe.
yeah, because it's a habit.
Right now it's easy because my tithe can easily be 100 bob or 150. But then what of when I'm making 1,000,000 shillings and my tithe and my tithe is 100,000? You know, will it be easy for me to give, or will I feel mauchungu because that's a whole 100K? And you know, there's also this assumption. I think Priscilla kind of talked about it earlier on, that when you give to the house of the Lord and you know, people, and I think maybe this is why some people also just don't want to give tithe altogether, because they feel like when they give to the church, it's going to increase the wealth of the pastor. It's not really going to further the kingdom of the Lord. So in their minds, they're like, okay, I'm giving tithe, but this pastor is using it to buy a range. This pastor is using it to buy a helicopter. So like, why am I increasing his wealth
At my own
at
expense.
And something wonderful Pauline said. This was before recording.
We
Let
had
me
like a
tell
whole
you.
debate.
Pauline was really inspiring us. She said, you know, as much as it's being used to increase the pastor's wealth, vengeance belongs to the Lord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he will, you know, he sees you giving with a joyful heart to further his kingdom. And he's the same one who also sees how your money that you gave with a joyful heart is being used to buy a range. And he will avenge you
Himself.
Can I also say, if you're feeling uncomfortable with the situation that you're in, like you're feeling the minister that you're with is fishy, pray about it, because God could lead you to a place where your finances are used in a positive manner.
Yeah.
What if you're earning the 1 million and that 100,000 can be used in a church in Gishagi to build a whole new sanctuary?
Yeah.
So I think as much as vengeance is in heaven, because hata kama you leave, that pastor still has some reparations to make.
Yeah.
So pray about the situation and ask God to give you divine wisdom to know what to do now with your tithe and with your money, because that's something that, you know, is good to do. So just to know where you can put it, how you can put it to good use, those things. I think it's important to pray. Just that you're also not giving your money to somewhere that it's not going to be used properly for your whole life.
Yeah, like Priscilla talked about it earlier on. It doesn't have to go to the institution of the church.
Yeah.
It can go to the servant of the Lord. It can go to a children's home. Missionaries. Yeah.
So I wanted to end. Have you all made your closing remarks?
Yeah.
I wanted to end on an interesting thing that I've realized a few days ago. So we all know King Solomon and his wealth. We also know he wrote the book of Proverbs, the book of Songs of Solomon, and the book of Ecclesiastes. If you have not read the book of Ecclesiastes, the aesthetic of Ecclesiastes is death.
And uselessness.
Like the entire book there's just such a hopelessness. Like he's constantly saying, what's the point of being alive, you know?
Yeah.
Let me remind you, King Solomon was one of the richest people. So just remember, you can be wealthy but still feel like death.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. You can find us.
listen.
Oh, whoops. Thanks for listening, guys, on this conversation about money and wealth and spending. And I hope you are able to take a few things out of this conversation, or even you are able to just relate or learn a few things. By the way, we are now available. Yeah, like you can find us on, I think, virtually any podcast platform apart from Apple Podcast and Overcast. Yeah. So, usi stress, like if you don't have Spotify, we're on Google Podcast. I don't know any other podcast platform, so my list will end there. Yeah.
There's Castbox, there's Amazon Music, there's Audible.
Well, we're doing the thing.
I can't believe on Audible.
I know. Yeah. Also, follow us on Instagram at P3T Podcast. DM us.
Share your thoughts.
Yeah, tell us what you think. Even like you don't need to have feedback about the content. Like you can also have feedback about the editing and the recording.
Lakini
share your
tunatumia
opinions.
simu.
Yeah. So si to shout sana.
Maybe-
Don't shout at us too loudly.
Maybe you can type to us to a microphone.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
No, but if the Lord leads you,
Yeah. May he tap on your heart.
But also, you can send us an email at p3tpodcastke@gmail.com. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next. You'll hear me in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.